Xin chào, what's up everybody? Alright, we're at a Monday here in Saigon. In this video, I want to talk about today is... Hello, Xin chào. I'm still working on the title of the video, but it's pretty much ways you could live in Asia for a long term and how I would be traveling around Asia if it was me right now. With the visa stuff not that great in Vietnam right now. So we're going to kind of talk about how I would essentially live in different parts of Asia and Southeast Asia, and yeah, ways you can do that too. This is how I was going to travel, by the way, before I met my wife and before COVID. If I was still single, I would already be living this lifestyle that I'm about to explain. So let's get into it. Let's start talking. I'm trying to get to 20,000 subscribers before the first of the year, so if you want to subscribe to the channel, that would be awesome of you. Come on now. So let's get into the video. First things first is, you know, it's pretty difficult to live in Vietnam right now, especially if you're not going to be coming and working. I'm going to do a separate video on that, but if you're not working here and trying to stay here long term, and if you're not getting married here, extremely difficult right now. Very possible, but it's a pain in the ass. So my plan would be is to take advantage of all the countries that offer, you know, one, a good visa system, two, all right, yeah, so my thing would be to stay at places that have a good visa system, like Thailand. You can stay there pretty long. My thing would be to get a home base somewhere. If you're really keen on Vietnam, I would essentially get a place in Vietnam, an apartment in Saigon or in Vung Chau or whatever, even on the 30-day e-visa, especially if you're going to bring some things with you. And home base there, get a cheap apartment. If you've got a couple mates that want to do the same thing and travel around Asia and Southeast Asia, even better. You can save even more money. So yeah, I would probably get a super cheap apartment, home base at that apartment, and then I would go and live in other countries. You know, Japan you can stay for 90 days, same in Korea. So I would go live in Tokyo for 90 days. I'd find an Airbnb. I could never do like a hostel guest house. That is not my thing. Some people like that shit, but I'm not sleeping in a little... Nope, not me. Maybe when I was younger, sure, but now, absolutely no way that I would stay in a hostel or share. But I would get a cheap Airbnb and have no problem with the cheap Airbnb. So yeah, I would live in Japan for 90 days at a time. And then I would live in maybe Korea for 90 days at a time. And then maybe jump over to Thailand and live in Thailand for I think you could say 90 days pretty easily there, from what I hear too. Stay there for 90 days. You know, that's what? That's already 3, 6, 9 months right there. So that's 9 months of living right there. And then you get to experience the culture and everything there without actually having to permanently live there. I think this would ideally be the best way to travel Asia and Southeast Asia, especially if you're looking to stay somewhere long term eventually. Like wait for the visas to come back to Vietnam and some things. You know, Cambodia's got a great visa thing as well. I don't know if I would want to be in Cambodia for longer than a week, but some people really like Cambodia. For me, Cambodia is whatever. It's kind of a hard pass for me. I found it a little expensive and just not that great. Different folks for different strokes, you know. But yeah, Thailand's definitely feasible. Korea's definitely feasible. Japan's definitely feasible. You can do Vietnam over and over again for 30 days. So I'd probably come here and get situated in Saigon, find an apartment, chill out here for 30 days, rock on over to Thailand. If it's winter time in Japan and in Korea, rock on over to Thailand for the 90 days, wait for winter to pass, go to Japan in the spring, hang out for 90 days in the spring, maybe see all Japan if you want to. They give you 90 days. Jump over to Korea in the summer, do 90 days in Korea. Again, you could stay all over the country. You don't have to stay in just Seoul. And then you can get the feel of what it's like to actually live in these places. And then if you so desire so, you can choose to figure out which one you want to stay at or maybe move to. But at any time in between that, since you've got that apartment in Vietnam, you can come back to Vietnam. Say you know, a month and a half into Tokyo, you're not feeling it. Well, you can just jump back over to Vietnam, to Saigon, and you've got another 30 days. Boom, you can hang out, figure out your next destination, and go from there. There's all kinds of countries that offer pretty great lengths of stays in Asia and Southeast Asia. So you just have to look it up. I think the Philippines you can do easily for long term as well. So you could hop on over to the Philippines for 60 to 90 days. Me, especially as a content creator, that is exactly what I would be doing. I would have already been stayed at all these countries for 90 days. You know, I think we stayed in Cambodia roughly close to a month, 3 weeks. We were in Korea for almost 3 weeks. I would definitely like to do like 2 months. Now that's not really going to be possible. But I think what's going to happen next year is 6 months out of the year, I'll be living somewhere else every other month. So I won't quite be able to do the 90 days. But you know, my plan is to, that's why I didn't hurry to Japan this year when it opened, because I don't want it to be a short trip. I want to be in Tokyo for at least a month, maybe longer, and see other parts of Japan as well. So I want to be there for quite some time. And that was the same in Korea. I wasn't ready to go. You know, sure, I lost my phone like an idiot. It's 100% my fault. But other than that, Seoul was fantastic. I'd have loved to have been there another 2 weeks, 3 weeks to really explore the country and see it. I think these are all tremendous places. You've also got Taiwan. I don't know how long Taiwan's length of stay is for Americans. Oh, revving out the fart can on the scooter. Get it, boy. Your scooter farts louder than the others. But I don't know the length of stay at Taiwan. But I would also go to Taiwan and stay there for a month or two. I think it's kind of weird, like, people get really into just moving to one place, like just to Thailand or just to Vietnam. And then they think the other places are crazy expensive. I mean, it depends on your level of cheapness. Like, I don't find Seoul or Tokyo that much more expensive than much. In fact, I think they're pretty affordable. My homie lives in Tokyo on like $1,200 a month, no problem. Decent apartment. So I mean, it's not as expensive as, for some reason, everybody's got in their head. Like Korea and Japan are crazy expensive. You can even stay in Singapore, I think, for 60 days. I know at least 30. So if it was me and I was trying to travel and then maybe even stay in Vietnam at some point and wait for the visa shit to get over, why not get out there and enjoy life and explore all the destinations in Asia and Southeast Asia, what it has to offer, you know? That would be my game plan, you know? And right now, Thailand is the better option for living. You know, people love comparing the two, but I mean, as far as cost and stuff, and they're bordering countries, it's pretty safe to say that, you know, you can slightly compare the two, even though they're two totally different places. And I would say right now, for ease of staying long term, Thailand's definitely crushing Vietnam on that front. But I think Thailand as a country relies way, way, way more on tourism than Vietnam does. Or at least that's whoever runs Vietnam is what their thinking is in their head. Like, they love to put out numbers and stats and be like, our GDP isn't much on tourism. We do, you know, manufacturing and stuff like this. Which, yeah, they do, but I think if they offered a more visa-friendly situation for people, if they made it some kind of nomad, some easier way to stay, like you can pretty much stay longer in Thailand pretty easily, and in the Philippines, and a couple other places. I don't understand why they're so against it. I think times will change with that, though. I think they will start to see a performance problem in the hotel sector and other sectors that run by tourism and be like, oh shit, we got to change this thing. They're always just a little too late to the puzzle, you know? I don't know how the bureaucracy works and how the government works on the inside. None of us do, unless we work at the government, which I don't think anybody does. But it's just the way it is here, you know? I think it'll change after Tet or during Tet to more favorable visa conditions. Remember, if you're Vietnamese and you're living anywhere else and you're Vietnamese born, you can get a 5-year visa for like $100. Super easy to get. So if you're Vietnamese descent, it's not hard to stay here at all. The only thing that they're making it hard for someone to stay here long term right now is someone that wants to be on a tourist visa, and that's all they have, since for some reason they don't offer a nomad visa. I think even if you had like right now, the government doesn't collect tax if you're here, if you've got a job overseas. Like they don't double dip. So you worry about paying your taxes wherever you're getting paid from. I think Japan is thinking about doing something along the lines of letting people come and stay there. If they're working remotely on the nomad thing, they pay a small percentage of taxes, which I think people would be fine to do here too. I think that would work tremendously here as well. I wouldn't care. Like if I wanted to live here and they're like, on every $10,000 you make, you need to pay us $200. Okay, fine. I'll pay you $200. I don't think that's that big of a deal. Or even $100. I don't know how that would go, 1 or 2%. I mean, I think 1% would be all right. Maybe even 2%. I'm not a mathematician, so they're doing a tour. You rarely see the tours. They're starting to pop up more though. I don't know if I would ever. I'm not really a tour guy. I decline tours usually. Oh, let's walk this way. So my plan would be to, if I was somebody now thinking about wanting to move here and I'm not favorable on their visa rules, I would first just sell everything I own. Get rid of every single thing I own in America. Sell your house, sell your cars, get rid of all your shit, especially if you're planning to live in Asia forever or even Vietnam. Get rid of all your shit and kind of do what I just laid out. Like, go live in each place for there as long as you can stay on their visa. Especially if you're a digital nomad. I don't see the problem with that. I don't know why people get so stuck on Vietnam and Thailand. They think, like, I think it's just because it seems so cheap, but I mean, you can get housing cheap here, like, but it's a quality, you get what you pay for. Like, you know, a nice apartment's gonna run you, you know, $600, $500. But if you go and get a little crap box with like no windows or it's in a bad area, $200, $300, $400. I mean, you can get super affordable apartments. And especially if you're not going to be home much, I totally see the value in that. Like I happen to like being at home, so I like a nice house, and I like to sleep well. And I like that there's a pool, the gym, and all that stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much how I would do it. I would just go hopping around each country, learn each culture, figure out which one you really like, and then there's ways to stay longer. Like for Japan, for example, if you take 20 hours of Japanese a week, which can seem like not a lot or a lot to some, but if you take 20 hours a week in Japanese, you can stay there on a student visa. So that's a pretty good option. That would probably be what I would do if I ever left Vietnam for some reason. Or if I had to leave, if I didn't get married, if I would have had to have left, and when they exited all the tourist visas, I would have went and hung out places that we were allowed to go and waited for Japan to open, and then we'd be jumping over there now and getting the education visa for going to college. So that's how I would do it. I think Korea has the same thing. A lot of places it's the same. Each country is a minimum difference in the minimum amount. I think here it's a lot. I think here it's 30 hours a week you gotta go. I think it's more than 20. I was talking about with some guy, and he said his friend did it, and it was terrible. Because if you're not really passionate about learning Vietnamese, you're probably not gonna have a good time. In order to learn a language, you have to go full immersion. So like you would have to be going to school, learning Vietnamese, watching Vietnamese TV, listening to Vietnamese music. Like, for most people, that's the best way to learn. And I just don't see, I don't want to do that. You know, I love Vietnam, but my plan was never even to stay here really permanently like this long. So, like I said, what I just talked about was my plan that I came up with years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, was to just hop around, get a decent apartment here, be able to come back here and chill for a couple months at a time, then go to a new country, hang out as long as I could on their stay on their window, which most places I want to go has a 90-day window, which is plenty long enough. Stay for like the whole summer. So that was my plan. And I think it's a pretty good plan. And I think other people just need to kind of hear it, and maybe they'll be inclined to do the same plan. If not, if you don't want to do any of that, if you don't want to bounce around, if you really want to stay in Vietnam, I would probably be jumping between Vietnam and Thailand would be my options. I would just bounce between the two, you know. I would do, we got some RC car drifting. This is a good spot to do RC car drifting. So I would do 30 days here, go to Thailand for 30 days, come back, if I really wanted to be here. So that's the video. I think we covered what I wanted to cover. Nothing too crazy. I just wanted to talk about it. I've never actually talked about it outside of the live stream we had this weekend. I briefly talked about that. But I just wanted to explain the whole concept. Because I think a lot of people don't think like that. I think people get like, want to go to one area and get stuck on it. He's got a Supra and he's got a RX-7. Yep, he's got an FD and he's got the new Supra. FT Supra. Not the best drifters. That's why they're training. Practice makes perfect. And that's how I would do stuff, guys. You can do stuff your own way. If any of you have anything to discuss or any comments to add, drop it in the comment section. I'd love to get a conversation going in the comment section about this, like what your thoughts are. Have any of you thought about doing this? So, yeah, thank you guys for watching. Stay frosty. See you on the next one. Like, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.